Let's be honest for a second. For most of gaming history, fighting games have lived in this weird space where everyone knows them, everyone respects the skill required to play them, but almost no one outside the community actually understands them. They're iconic, they're technical, they're cultural, and yet they're still treated like a side genre. Now suddenly, we've got a new Street Fighter movie, a second Mortal Kombat movie, and both franchises popping up again at the biggest stage in gaming, including a moment at the Game Awards that was awkward, chaotic, and honestly kind of revealing. And we'll get to that. Quick pause before we continue. Today's video is sponsored by S.T.O.P, or STOP for short, which stands for Self-Defense to All Places. Unlike traditional pepper spray, STOP uses a pepper powder, not a pressurized spray. There's no propellant, no metal canister, and no aerosol cloud that can blow back toward you. It's designed to look like everyday food packaging, which means it can be carried in places where other self-defense tools are often restricted, like concerts, sporting events, public transport, and even past metal detectors. When deployed, it creates a cloud of stinging pepper powder between you and a threat, giving you time to escape. This isn't about confrontation, it's about creating distance and getting away safely. Personal safety matters to you or someone you care about? Check out STOP. The link is in the description. And all right, let's get back to the video. So with that context in mind, let's talk about why this current moment for fighting games actually matters. Because this isn't just about movies, it's about legitimacy. For decades, fighting game movies had a reputation, and honestly, they earned it. Hollywood never really understood what made these games work. They looked at Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and thought the appeal was punches, explosions, and flashy costumes. But fighting games aren't really about fighting, they're about rivalries. They're about discipline, they're about identity. Every character represents a philosophy. Every matchup tells a story. Every loss feels personal. Older adaptations flattened all of that. Characters became costumes, lore became background noise, the community became irrelevant. And the end result was movies that technically existed but never felt like the games. Now fast forward to today. Modern fighting games are already cinematic. Look at story modes now, camera work, voice acting, music cues, facial animation. These games already feel like movies you control. And more importantly, developers now understand something Hollywood didn't for a long time. Characters matter more than spectacle. That's why newer Mortal Kombat adaptations lean into lore instead of ignoring it. That's why the upcoming Street Fighter movie has such a carefully chosen cast. Hollywood finally stopped being embarrassed of the source material, and that alone changes everything. Now let's talk about that Game Awards moment. The Street Fighter movie cast comes out on stage, and instead of a clean presentation, it turns into this awkward attempt to revive the Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat rivalry. Jokes about Mortal Kombat, inviting the MK cast on stage when they weren't even there, a lot of confusion, a lot of people asking, what is happening right now? At face value, it felt pointless, but here's why it actually matters. That rivalry is still the default narrative, even now, even for Hollywood, even on gaming's biggest stage. When mainstream media thinks fighting games, they don't think mechanics or balance, they think rivalry. Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat has never just been about which game is better. It's about philosophy, precision versus spectacle, neutral versus chaos, discipline versus aggression. That rivalry shaped entire generations of players. So when the Game Awards leaned into it instead of celebrating design, legacy, or impact, it revealed something uncomfortable. Fighting games are still treated as entertainment first, art second. Here's the hard truth. Fighting games are some of the hardest games to make. Frame data, balance patches, netcode, animation consistency, matchup integrity. One small change can affect the entire ecosystem. And yet, when award season rolls around, fighting games get pushed into side categories. Best fighting game, technical awards, quick announcements, rarely spotlighted, rarely discussed, rarely treated like genre-defining work. Visibility is not respect. Now the good news, movies do matter. They bring in new players, they legitimize franchises culturally, they make publishers invest more confidently. Successful movies lead to bigger budgets, longer support cycles, better onboarding for new players, but movies alone won't fix perception. That only changes when fighting games are allowed to stand next to other genres as equals. Fighting games don't need validation. They've already earned it. What they need is respect. Respect in awards, respect in discussion, respect for the mastery they demand. And until that happens, moments like that Game Awards segment will keep happening. Big visibility, small understanding. Let me know what you think. Did that Game Awards moment bother you, or is it harmless fun? Do fighting games still get disrespected? And do you think these movies will actually change anything long term? If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.